Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Dungeons, your favorite tabletop role-playing game podcast and game stuff. I'm Shawn Merwin here with the mini-loving, mini-showing Teos Abadia. What you got? You got a devil and an angel on each shoulder?
Except they're both Zariel, so... Which, I mean, is not unlike what you said, but yes, I have a Zariel and a Zariel on my shoulders, because that's how WizKids rolls. We're going to talk about ye old Descent into Avernus. Yeah. And one of the things I love about the series we're doing, which I'm not going to spend too long on, but just, it brings to me into my brain, like, all of the history of 5th edition. Like, like I just held up the alt cover, and we also held up the normal cover. This was the first book, the adventure book, to get an alt cover, but not the first book to get an alt cover. And it's one of those things that's a sign of the times of how at that time D&D was doing so well, was so strong. They're like, let's just alt cover everything. Stores love it. We love it. And just, and the WizKids, we get 2 Zariels, we get, just like all these things. Like, this is D&D humming. And so it's fun when you review these adventures, but you get to see the history of the larger game. But that wasn't even the most fun thing that happened this weekend, Shawn.
I heard that you may have gotten a chance to play test a certain new role-playing game by one of our favorite designers of all time.
It's true. James Intercasso's Crows. Caca. I had a lot of fun with the Crows RPG. You've play tested it last year at Gamehole. I got to play with Tom Christie on the D20 Play channel. You can head there or link in our show notes. Tom's great. We had a lot of fun. The group was super fun. I think I died first, and then other people died, and then I died again. And my third character survived. It was cool. It was neat seeing the travel system, the way you can, you're getting money for your village and what that'll mean. There was a lot here to like, and I had a lot of fun with the different systems that are involved. And the core mechanics are a bit like Draw Steel, so I felt good about that. I was like, yes, payoff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the important things to know is that it's got the same base die rolling mechanic as Draw Steel. And so there is a familiarity with that can bring people into the game. But then gameplay is much, much, much different along those lines. Yeah.
We took so much damage from friendly fire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what I said last time. My character defied all the odds fighting enemies, and then at the last minute of the last combat, a friendly fire happened, and down I went.
Yeah.
So, yep. But you know what I did this weekend, Teos?
What'd you do?
Absolutely nothing. I went to visit my family, and I did not turn my computer on from Friday morning until Sunday night. So
everybody clap.
Yeah, everybody clap. My brain, the wheels are still not turning.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But that's okay. You're going to get a good podcast because of that.
I did a thing that I have never done before, which is what I say. Like, no matter how old you are, keep doing things you've never done. I dug dirt with the help of a chicken.
An abyssal chicken? Or?
No. Yeah, that's a good one. Help in quotes. Yeah. The chicken, one of our chickens is very like, I'm the boss. I'm the matron here.
Yeah.
And she just realizes, when I dig, there might be worms. And so it was very funny to try to dig while this chicken ran around, because we were letting them have some fun outside of the coop. And it was exciting.
And so I'm going to work under the assumption that you have chickens, and this wasn't like a random chicken came.
Yeah, okay. I have chickens. It's Portland, it's Oregon. You can do so even within city limits, but we're a little bit further out, and so we're the outer Portland. And it was. We have a chicken coop. This is not my idea. This is the rest of my family conspiring to make my life complicated, including apparently when digging a hole. Oh, there you
go. Nice. Well. We'll see if we have any chickens or digging in the adventure that we will talk about in our main segment. But before that, we are going to get into our listener corner, where folks who listen to us can talk to us via our Patreon Discord, comments via YouTube, on all the social media platforms, at our email, which is masteringdnd@gmail.com, or via any other means that you can get your questions or comments to us. Today, our question comes via email from Matt. Matt says, I have some regulars from a couple different groups that are interested in starting a, quote, serious, unquote, campaign. More immersive and less comedic than our usual campaigns. If you have any advice on that, great. Now, there's a second part to the question. So I want to say first, good luck on that.
Yeah. Acquisitions Incorporated.
Right, exactly. So the second part of the question actually answers the first part of the question pretty well. So I'm going to continue reading here. The real topic I'm bringing up is around sampling before starting a new campaign. I'm considering running a series of 3 to 4 shots to give my players a taste of what different campaign options would be like. I have a bunch of books sitting on my shelf that are not getting any love, like Drakkenheim, Grimhollow, Humblewood, etc. And I've got twice as many ideas that I've been toying with, so I'm not really worried about the work part of it. My crew love making new characters, so I'm not worried about that part either. My tentative plan was to periodically run 3 to 4 sessions in a new setting or a new concept, i.e. you live in an environment like Fallout, and that's all, everything's about to change. You're in the vault, and now you're coming out. And when we hit on something where we're all like, ooh, we need to keep playing this, we know we're ready to figure out scheduling. Have you ever done this? And if so, did it work? And if not, do you think it will work? Or are you going to talk me out of it? And so my first bit of advice is I think that's a great plan. Mm-hmm. It's advice I've heard in the past, and it's advice I give now. Instead of planning a 1 to 20 campaign, plan a level 1 to 3 campaign, plan a level 3 to 5 campaign. Play for those 3 or 4 sessions and see if you can make it work. Mm-hmm. Any advice there, Teos?
Yeah, I love it. I usually do it with other RPGs. And so I love doing things like, playing through the Blade Runner first box set. How does that go? Great. Cool. When the second box set drops, we keep the story going and do that. Now the third box set, was sent to me by the Kickstarter. We will run that when we get a chance. And that's great, and if we were to go, man, we can't get enough Blade Runner, well, then we would do more. But the reality is this is pretty good. We really like the kind of supported campaigns, and that's the right cadence. Coriolis, we played a one-shot, and I would love to play another one. I'm not sure that I want to run it because I have such a long list of things I want to run, but I would love it if one of the players wanted to run that campaign. And that's the same thing that led to us having a Pirate Borg campaign and having a Dagheart campaign and so on. And so, a lot of our campaigns have come from these little tastes that went really well. And so we kept going. And conversely, if they kind of wear out, well, then we'll turn those off. And I think that's an absolutely great approach.
Yep. And Teos mentioned, other people running. And that's another good side effect of this is somebody might say, I can't run a campaign, but I could run 3 small short adventures, and that will then expand your DMing group. If you are a forever DM or you have just 1 or 2 DMs, this can help other people get involved as well. So overall, I think, oh, go ahead.
I was just say it's really hard to have a bad time with it. Like I ran a Numenera campaign using the Wanla Tony DiTerlizzi book series, and we did, I think, 4 sessions. And I basically wrapped up the trilogy of those books into 4 sessions. So it was very packed, very evocative, neat setting. We all got a feel for the rules. I realized that it's a game that I really like for one-shots and conventions, not that I really want to run a campaign in. But did I have fun? I mean, it was a great campaign. I really, really enjoyed that. And I'm super, super glad I'd ran it. I would do something like that with any system. And even if you end up finding it's not your favorite, you'll probably have a great, great time. And I think the same thing's true of if you only like D&D, you'll try out that one setting and probably have a really great experience with it, even if you don't go on to do the whole thing.
Right. And that's another part of this I want to discuss, which is generally my experience is you do 3 sessions. People love it. it's different. It's exciting. You're learning as you go, which is exciting for a lot of people. And you're putting all the pieces together and you're like, this is awesome. Let's keep going. And then maybe 2 or 3 sessions after that, or 4 sessions after that, you realize, you know what? The novelty's worn off.
Yeah.
And this could be just as true for a game as for a setting. So give yourself permission to quit after the next 3.
Yeah.
Keep the expectation. We're just going to play this limited number.
Mm-hmm.
That can help keep focus. And it can also give permission to say, that was great, no more. Which brings me back to the first question, which was about, running this serious campaign. A more serious campaign, quote unquote, more serious campaign, is awesome if that's what everyone wants. But remember, people lie. And most often, they lie to themselves.
Yeah.
They say and think and even believe that they want some particular thing. But once they get the thing that they thought they wanted, they find out that it isn't really what they actually wanted. And worse, rather than admitting, you know what, I thought I wanted this, but I don't really want this, they'll often take the next step and say, well, I did want that, but this wasn't it. Right? It's not, I didn't know what I wanted. It's this thing didn't deliver what I wanted, even though it actually probably did deliver what you thought you wanted. So, understanding these expectations, desires, wants is important. I've done this myself, right? After playing with my group of knuckleheads for a while on an erratic schedule that barely works once every 2 months, I say to myself, you know what? I really want a regular campaign that meets every week. Everyone pays attention. Everyone plays the game seriously. And then I put that game together, right? I'm like, oh, okay, wow, cool. Now I have 4 or 5 players who have committed to this and we're going to be serious. And I get like 3 weeks into it and I realize, you know what? That's too frequent, or that's too much pressure to have stuff ready. It's too much like work. And so I think I want it, but I don't. So no matter what aspect of this question you're talking about, give yourself sort of parameters and guidelines and checklists, something where you're constantly checking in to say, is this what I want? Do these people really want this serious game?
Yeah.
Or do they miss the joking?
Yeah.
And it's okay if they don't, and everyone does want this serious game. Great. Wonderful. You've got what you wanted. But don't turn it into this, monastery on a mountaintop kind of moment where you're like, we have reached the promised land, and you get there and you're like, you know what, this promised land isn't exactly what I wanted. I want to go back and, throw Monty Python quotes in. I want to, have a couple NPCs with silly names, because that's part of the joy for some people, even if they don't want to admit it.
Yeah, and the hard part there is that ratio. We could do a show on this, right? That ratio of people who are like, I want this to be a really gothic horror thing and all of us to be dark and brooding and whatever. And then the person who's just like, sure, or not, And one of the really important parts is you might I might say as advice to the question, you might want to start with like not your favorite of your choices, because you may need the first one as training wheels for sort of the group itself and what kind of characters they brought and how they leaned into it. And that sort of self-examination of saying like, okay, did we kind of mess this up? Like, did we start doing all the silly jokes? And was our character concept to begin with sort of not really going to produce this effect? One of the benefits of playing a game like, say, Blade Runner is that because the characters tend to be so steeped in the setting, you tend to play that setting more. Then D&D, you just come to it with, I think what I'll do is I'll be like a, hobgoblin who has this sidekick with this thing. And you just start thinking in D&D terms rather than campaign terms. And so getting that down may take a few cycles if you do, in fact, find that you want that. Right? You may have to work on it.
Yep. So excellent question, worthy of its own show, but we're going to end the questions there because we want to talk about a lot in the news and commentary section. And we're going to start with Ravenloft, Horrors Within. It is out in early access very, very soon.
Yeah, tomorrow for us, but for you, yesterday. So
yeah, yesterday it came out. So WPN stores and D&D Beyond pre-orders will have access starting on June 2nd, which is the day before this show releases, the day after we record. The celebration events will run between June 5th and June 14th for those early access stores, and between the 19th and the 28th for stores without early access. June 10th is the first week of the D&D Encounters program if your store uses the early access dates, or the 24th is the first week that it can run if it's not early access.
Yeah, that couldn't have been simpler.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 dates are necessary because of WPN stores. So if you can figure out what your store does, check in. We've already heard some folks in comments to our last week's video talking about how excited they are to have like their kids are running a table and stuff like that at stores. So that's exactly the kind of energy we love and why we mentioned this. Shawn, I watched the State of the Game video, which was on the Dice Cream Sandwich channel with Wes Schneider, Mackenzie Darmus, and AJ Hanold. AJ may not be known to a lot of folks here, but does great work on the art leadership. And it's a neat video. Early questions dove right into, I think, what I'm hearing a lot of people talk about, which is how original is Horrors Within compared to Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. And Wes kind of said, look, we didn't spend 2 years on this to have it be the same book. And I thought to myself, wow, 2 years? Because now that this is, in early access, I can talk about, what I've seen. I actually find it to be a lot like Van Richten's. And so I'm not surprised it took 2 years because everything takes more time than you'd think. But that means they started, Van Richten's is 5 years old now. It means it was 3 years old when they started rewriting it. I find that a lot of the sort of the table of contents, if you will, is kind of the same. There are a number of changes within to various pieces. The writing, it's sort of like the 2024 books. Like the writing is new, even if it didn't need to be new. And even if we're talking about the same domain of Barovia that we've seen 3 times, every word has been changed. Is that a benefit to you? I don't know. Maybe. Like, I think the writing's great, but I also thought the writing was great before. In this video, they discuss their enthusiasm for the new Innsmouth domain with Cthulhu in it, the new art on the Taroka deck, 2 new subclasses, the Hollow Warden for the Ranger, which I think is fantastic. Love it. Reanimator for the Artificer, a new Lupin species, and Dark Gifts now being feats, which is not my favorite thing. That's probably me, Shawn. I loved that Dark Gifts were a separate system you could add on top of everything. It didn't collide with, your decision to take a particular feat for optimization or whatever, or your backstory or whatever. But now they are indeed feats, so you would have to give up something else to have that. And one interesting thing I heard on one of the videos I attended was the Artificer class will be available digitally only for those buying the book on D&D Beyond, which is another of those things that I'm like, that's cool. But what about the people who buy it in a store and get this, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. So you can see that on YouTube. We have a link in our show notes. You could go to the Wizards event link in our show notes to see more about stores that are running events. There's a store and event locator as well, and a link to the story about the D&D organized play seasons, programs, and events. We're also talking about June 11th being the International Day of Play, where stores can get events for both D&D and Magic the Gathering. On the D&D side, you can get a free adventure called Borderlands Quest Dagger Danger. Last year's adventure, which was called Goblin Trouble, is also available on D&D Beyond, with a link there in the show notes. The International Day of Play is run by the United Nations, UNICEF specifically, to celebrate the existence of games and the rights of children to play games anywhere in the world. So you can, talk to your local store and see if they are able to run that for you.
Yeah. And I heard a genius wrote it.
I don't know about that, but I did write it. So I also wrote Goblin Trouble. I wrote Goblin Trouble last year, and so it's along the same lines there.
Awesome.
Pre-generated characters, a little story that connects to Heroes of the Borderlands if you own that. Everything that's in this adventure will be in the box set that you bought for Heroes of the Borderlands. So you can just throw that new adventure in there if you so choose. Cool. Hey, let's talk about licensing. The Licensing Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada was this past weekend. And D&D is always there. Along, all of Hasbro's there, obviously. I've attended the last 2 years. I did not attend this year, but it is a really sort of bizarre event in the sense that think of Gen Con in its scale of displays and its scale of, people having booths and having displays and making it really glitzy and glamorous and fun with like 1/100th of the people and everybody in suits.
Yeah.
Because this is about like licensing between businesses.
Yeah.
So it's a very business focused thing. It's been amazing to go and walk around and see things without the sort of the gaming aspect of it as well. But we did get a lot of news about D&D and D&D related branding. Teos, you want to lead us through what they were talking about there?
Yeah, it's so easy to forget just how widely things are partnered and licensed these days. So there were previews some new products from partners included Basic Fun, Funko, WizKids, Dr. Squatch, alongside a growing publishing slate tied to Baldur's Gate 3 and the broader role-playing universe. And we've got a couple links to this, but the list of things that existed there were the Dungeon Master's official soundtrack, which we've talked about, Archon, a painted terrain set for the Underdark. Basic Fun had a collectible figure line called Dungeons and Dragons Questers, which are really made for like kids, and they worked with the Wizards team to create what the idea is for how you can kind of create that sense of excitement for young kids. Really neat idea. Beetle and Grimm had the Ravenloft Horrors Within Silver Edition set, Fanroll, Halloween, and Ravenloft themed dice sets. Funko Biddy Pop with mini collectibles based on iconic D&D characters, Serious Dice with its Ravenloft themed collectibles and dice sets, WizKids with minis, Dr. Squatch has D&D branded soap, Wolfpack has backpacks, shirts, and patches, all kinds of people that have books, many tied to Baldur's Gate 3, Dragon's Milk beer from New Holland Brewing, D&D branded energy drinks from Sneak Energy. You can look at the whole list, but it's so amazing that like, you couldn't collect all this stuff if you wanted to, right? Whereas in the past, you could say there's that one, Jones soda or something, and I have that on my shelf. And now it's just so wide. It's amazing.
It is. And, I think back to, probably 10 years ago when we were talking about how can D&D become a $1 billion brand, right? And we're like, be careful what you wish for, because if that happens, the game might be affected. And I love this. I love the list you just read. Yeah. Here is a way to begin to move toward that goal without necessarily changing the game or how the game is presented to players in a way that can alienate the player base. And it's such a wide and diverse audience that you're always going to alienate someone.
Right.
By making one move toward one particular audience segment, you're going to make the other audience segment mad. But this is a way that if you're a gamer and you love D&D, you can say, oh, cool, I'm going to collect this stuff. And if not, you can just say, okay, cool. Not for me. I'm going to go roll my dice and play my game.
Yeah. And some things can be dual, right? Like you can have them holding up a soul coin, because we're going to talk about Descent into Avernus today. And like, this is the example of a collectible because it's the, symbol of Baal. And, you've got, the back is really cool looking. And that's just a neat tchotchke to have. But also you can use it in your game, right? And so that's even sweeter where you're okay, great. Like I can use this both in my game. I can just put it on my shelf, like any number of things, right?
Yep. I was in a Barnes and Noble and I saw the D&D Horrified game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I'm not going to get that now, but I want to get that sometime soon, right? And again, more D&D themes getting out there in the world is good for D&D, I would say.
Fantastic. Agreed.
Also good for D&D, I hope, is a D&D Advisory Group. Wizards of the Coast had said in the past that they were going to form an advisory group to help them steer the direction of the game and the brand. Well, just today, they announced that D&D Beyond, they announced on D&D Beyond the status of the advisory group that Dan Ayub mentioned in July. He wrote in that blog, our goal is to create a rotating advisory group made up of creators, publishers, educators, and fans who can help us shape future tools, policies, and content in a real, ongoing way. Dan helms the blog post sharing the 2026 roadmap and how they are listening and communicating with fans in many ways, including monthly AMAs, on Discord, through the State of the Game videos, through Unearthed Arcana feedback, YouTube channels, surveys, and more. Dan then discusses the advisory group they have formed. Last summer, Dan says, I shared we were forming this annual rotating D&D community advisory group with a simple goal: bring trusted community leaders into the room early so we can help stress test decisions, surface any risks, and make better calls before things are finalized. We built this group by bringing together a variety of creators, WPN store owners, event organizers, community builders, and educators, each bringing a different lens on what D&D is and what it can be. And since forming in December, the group has met with leads across various teams to discuss early product concepts, D&D Beyond tools, and to challenge our approaches. Alongside feedback, we were hearing more broadly from players, creators, and the community. They pushed on the lack of a roadmap, which led us to revisit plans before sharing the 2026 roadmap timeline in March. Some topics are still far out, and this gives us a chance to adjust earlier. That's part of the point. This group engages early while there's still time to change the course. He went on to say this doesn't replace other ways that they listen and that they compensate the members for their time. The post then lists the 2026 advisory group members. This includes a diverse group from both in-industry focus, like store owners and streamers and convention runners, and as well as the background. And there was a familiar name on that list. One, Teos Abababedia. What? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, that sounds diverse to me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm used to always answering the part of my brain that isolates all this information. But that's exactly how this works. Part of being an advisory group member is I can't talk about anything that everybody doesn't already know. So I can say yes to all this. And it's a pleasure. I mean, in any capacity I ever get to serve D&D, right? To try to improve the direction, the approach. I am honored to be a part of that, and I take that responsibility very seriously. And this is another of those cases. Kid me would be like, "Are you kidding? This is absurd," and it is absurd, but also it's tough. And like is shown in this blog post and in the statement that the community, the advisory group put together. We work hard. It's a good group of members that is really committed to that task, and so it's good. Yeah, really good to see.
Awesome. Well, as we hear more about this group, we will try to pick your brain and see if we can get you to accidentally let something slip, and thus get you kicked off the advisory group.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was fun while it lasted. Also fun while it lasted is the Legends of Greyhawk first pack, because they've released the Legends of Greyhawk second pack on D&D Beyond. This new pack is called Legends of Greyhawk Tales from Turtleback Cove. And again, you can now pick that up on D&D Beyond, where you can sail away to the Lordship of the Isles, where skullduggery, intrigue, and the high seas await. Approved for play in the Legends of Greyhawk organized play campaign, and for use as compelling one-shots in your home games. Of course, Legends of Greyhawk is the organized play campaign organized by Wizards of the Coast through various premier organizers. This particular bundle was published by Game Conclave. The bundle is $15, including these 3 adventures: Shadows Beneath the Skull, Echoes of Betrayal, and Havoc in the High Seas. All these adventures are for levels 1 to 4, and we previously covered the Elemental Evil Rising bundle from Baldman Games. So this is the second bundle with likely more to come. You can check it out on the D&D Beyond marketplace.
Yeah. Also to check out, Shawn, is the D&D, the DungeonsandDragons.com website got an update. Discord members noted the philanthropy page is now on the new site. And there is a more fully formed licensing page, which covers everything, like the things you just mentioned, earlier at the Vegas show. Also, like the pinball machines, a lot of other things that it's easy to forget because if they aren't tracked anywhere, they kind of vanish from your brain. And oh, right, yeah, we have D&D branded pinball machines. And there is also a bookshelf section that links to various novels. So it's nice to see that site kind of flesh out in interesting ways.
Yep. It was fun to cover the site a few shows ago, and it's good to see that it is constantly updating. We also have news on the latest DMAP, Dungeon Masters Actual Play Encounter and Drops news. So we've been trying to keep up, but sometimes we run out of space in our news segment. So we're up to the 6th episode of the Dungeon Masters Actual Play. And it is accompanied by the pre-release adventure Death's Head Tree for level 6 PCs. The premise is a very typical horror premise. Halfling villagers are secretly worshiping a vampiric presence that feeds on the living during the annual Eclipse Festival. The lovely welcome to the village. You aren't just the guest of honors, you're on the menu.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty. I thought it was a great premise. One of my favorite of these little, preview things that you get if you pre-ordered the book. The Death's Head Tree. It's kind of like the whole the villagers bring you in close and let's celebrate. And watching the actual play of this, it is funny because it's sort of they know something's got to be up. Like nothing can be good in Barovia or in Ravenloft. And so they're just like, what's going on here? And come get close, get nice and cozy. And then, of course, all the horribleness start. The Death's Head Tree is CR4. It will regrow eventually if it's killed. It has 2 slam attacks. It can throw a poisoned head to deal necrotic damage and inflict the poison condition. It can benefit the allies of the tree, though in this encounter, it's just the tree. There's a table of what heads can be on the tree, so you can vary it up or see what comes out. It's a pretty neat monster, and then the halflings are all vampire spawns who don't actually do anything. They actually just get sad if you kill the tree, but they're not actually hostile because they know it'll grow back, I guess. I like that setup. And then there's also the level 7 one is out for last week, where you escort 2 Banshee sisters through Canyonlands. That was interesting design because the Loop Garou is a CR 13 creature, and this is for level 6 creatures. But you have these werewolves and banshees, and so they probably cancel out, and maybe the banshees help a little more than the werewolves. Very, very interesting. And the Loop Garou has been updated as have all these creatures. They can use 2 longsword and rend attacks in any combination. If it bites, you're cursed, so that if you're reduced to 0 hit points, you become a werewolf under the Loop Garou's control. And you can't remove that curse until the Loop Garou dies. So you bite, you become a target, and everybody needs to protect you. Some neat legendary actions with a mauling charge, where it can move and do the longsword and rend. Surprise bite to shapeshift and change form and bite. I like that. Pretty good stuff. So we'll see what this week's ends up being as well for episode 8.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and on D&D Drops, we also have had 2 more weekly encounters since we last discussed the first Bandit encounter drop. As before, if you go into the D&D maps, you can see them. There's the demonic cult summoning. Can your players stop the evil cult's plots and prevent an abyssal incursion? There are 2 demonic encounters, one for 6th level characters and another for 17th level characters. It uses one of the 4E maps from the Orcus series with blood connecting 4 spots on the floor. Very much fits that summoning concept. And then the other one is Into the Mummy's Lair. Are your players brave enough to delve into the mummy's tomb in this drop-in encounter, where we get 2 encounters, one for level 4 characters and one for level 11 characters. It uses the map with a tropical woven mat type look with a sarcophagus at the end.
All right. So if you're ready for spoilers, I'm going to talk about kind of what makes up these encounters real fast. So just skip a minute ahead if you don't want the spoilers. Demonic Cult Summoning, the level 17 is 4 mages and 2 Mariliths. So that's some power to, if they win initiative, to blast that starting zone. The level 6 encounter is 4 Cult Fanatics and 2 Vrox, also pretty tough. They're both high challenge encounters with some potential, for everybody fireballs the start box or whatever. So, if you're DMing it, you DM wisely. All the Cult Fanatics could cast Hold Person. That's another good times. Into the Mummy's Lair has the level 4 with 4 ghouls, a ghast, and a mummy in the coffin. Level 11 is 3 wraiths, which I wrote as wreaths. So that's for the Christmas version. One shadow and 1 mummy lord. And there's a lot of variance in CR there for the level 11. Half CR for the shadow. Those shadows punch way above their weight class. 5 for the race, 15 for the mummy lord. But it really can work, especially because those shadows are sort of always bad news. And that's the end of the spoilers.
All right. So overall, what's your takeaway on drops in general?
I've been surprised that it's been kind of quiet. Like I had to I keep an open tab that has these things up, and I was like, oh, right, the new DMAP is out there. Oh, right, Drops has new things. And so I don't know that it's generated a lot of buzz, but maybe it's just in the areas where I am. Like I don't see people talking about it on our Discord or, on Bluesky or anything like that. So I don't know how much this is really helping their goal, which is my really big question about the whole program. I think the quality is reasonable, but when I look at, say, Van Richten's being remade into Horrors Within, and there could be a lot of reasons for that. Like maybe back when they had lower staff, or maybe they just really were excited to do this book again. I'm like, that's where I want the focus. I want the next book to have a lot of new stuff. And I'm almost glad to see Drops be like remakes. Like to me, I'd do it the other way around. I think would be more interesting. There's nothing wrong here. I don't see this as massively increasing the value of either my purchase of Horrors Within or of my D&D Beyond membership. But given that I'm not paying necessarily more, it's fine and it's all ignorable. So if it's digital extras that, I didn't get because I only bought paper because I like paper, it's okay. So I don't have any big complaints, Shawn. I just, the only thing I would really say that is in the complaint areas, I want everything to be a PDF. And so these encounters are cool, but I'm not running using D&D, the maps VTT. So I want them to be PDFs, and I want a short tactical write-up. Even if this is just a quick drop-in encounter, I want to know what you're even thinking should happen here. Just a couple paragraphs.
Interesting. And we have some quick news on new dates for the EMEA region releases. The starter set is now fully released across regions. The new Ravenloft book will be in the UK on June 16th with their global launch day. There is a possible delay of 2 weeks from that date for continental Europe and no early access due to port disruption. The Heroes of Faerun and Adventures in Faerun will be localized into French, Italian, German, Spanish starting in the summer. Ravenloft is looking like it will be localized in the fall of 2026. And they say that the page will be updated if there are any changes to those localization dates.
One thing I heard just today was a store owner on ICV2 talking about delays with getting Horrors Within to various places, and that distribution has actually been impacted for Magic the Gathering sets as well. And I wonder if there are some impacts to timeliness because of that hack that occurred that we talked about in our quarterly earnings overview last episode. It could be that some things are just delayed in getting there, but that should flow through pretty quickly, I think, now that mostly is behind the company.
We'll go to our creator corner here, where we start with 25% off the work of Steve Conley. We've discussed Steve Conley's work before. Steve blends wonderful art with really cool and inventive and creative D&D subclasses and supplements. He had recent hospital visits and is offering a sale at steveconley.com. Use the coupon code, all one word, healing word, all one word. You can go to steveconley.com/shop to see that. Yeah. So good luck, Steve, with that sale. What's going on with Kickstarter here?
Well, it's another example of mature content guidelines being pushed onto various levels of groups, platforms, financing, and so on. And in this case, Kickstarter backtracking on their guidelines due to strong opposition from users. They had announced new content guidelines to disallow various types of mature content projects. There were complaints, there was bad press, so Kickstarter says they're pulling everything back to the old policy, which still prohibits various, pornography and things like that. But they are rethinking this and all going back to the drawing board. But they were very transparent about why are we doing this? Well, Stripe, like many payment processors, are applying significant pressures to have online companies restrict mature content. As Kickstarter points out, even Stripe's policy is shaped by the larger financial systems behind them. So it's really hard. It's not like Kickstarter can just say, hey, Stripe, don't, right? And Stripe can't just turn around and say, hey, large financial entities, don't. And Stripe apparently has forced some Kickstarter projects to cancel mid-campaign because of the content of those projects, because they felt they couldn't actually, sort of pass that on. And so they had to cancel the campaign. So Kickstarter has reverted to its previous policy. And they're trying to inform campaigns about the risks that Stripe could cancel a project and cut off your funds. And they'll continue to consider longer lasting solutions, but it's sort of back to the previous square. This mirrors things we're seeing on Bluesky, on any number of platforms, or Discord, right? All these groups are talking about how do you deal with the fact that the people behind you that are involved in your financing are telling you this is a liability, this is a problem, and even they will point to the people behind them. And so it's a serious thing that everybody's having to deal with.
All right. Well, that was our news and commentary section this week here on Mastering Dungeons.